Welcome everybody to the Keys to Wisdom channel. Today is February 24th, 2023, which is the 1-year anniversary of Joe Biden's war on Ukraine, and beyond that, Joe Biden's war on literally everybody in the world. And now that we're 1 year into this conflict, right, and you look around, everything is absolutely going to shit and getting worse and worse and worse and worse, which is the entire story of everything since Joe Biden was placed into office, right? Total downhill, massive, rapid decline of absolutely everything. And I was sitting here this morning, I'm reading a bunch of different articles, right? A bunch of smear pieces on the Chinese position papers and Chinese peace plans, right? As it regards Ukraine, right? Which is totally dismissed by the warmongers, which are most of the NATO nations, right? A lot of NATO nations don't want no part of this. They're just getting bullied by the bigger bullied NATO nations, USA and UK in particular. And of course, right, they set it up so that the United Nations, which is the biggest fucking joke of all time, right, pass some fucking totally garbage resolution demanding the immediate and unconditional withdrawal of the Russian troops from what they continue to say is Ukraine, but it's not fucking Ukraine, right? So so I was reading some of that. Absolutely disgusting shit, right? And it's absolutely embarrassing too, as an American, when right, the Chinese positions on everything and their ideas of what should happen are vastly superior to the USA position on everything, right? The USA position is a position that destroys the lives of everybody in the world, and then the Chinese position is a position that would improve the lives of everybody in the world. Right? And the same thing with the two speeches that went on, right? Joe Biden gave a speech, and Vladimir Putin gave a speech, and if you listen to both of them, one is a fucking crazy madman whose brain is just rotten. But not only that, right? The speech that Joe Biden gave was absolutely fucking sickening. It was well below the level of any type of statesman, right? It was just a fucking bunch of lying and rhetoric and warmongering and just sickening fucking shit. And of course, everything that he's saying and proposing and wanting to do is entirely against the interests of all of the Americans, and against the interest of all of the citizens of NATO all over the world, right? And then when you listen to Vladimir Putin's speech, and the man is speaking sense about everything. He's very coherent, and all the things that he's talking about is right in the best interests of the people, all the people of the world, but most especially the people of Russia, right? And that's what leaders of nations are supposed to do, used to be about, right? Doing what's in the best interests of their citizens, doing what's in the best interests of their nations, right? That's totally been out the window as far as the USA as soon as Joe Biden was placed into office. And a lot of the shenanigans in the fall of the rule of law started even before that, right? All through from 2020 onward, everything possible to undo and collapse the rule of law has happened, right? Domestically and internationally, as far as the USA is concerned, right? It's absolutely embarrassing. It's so bad, it's almost unfucking believable that this shit is going on. But so I'm checking out all these articles I'm reading around, right? And one article I come up on is these papers from some more of these communists, right? And really, the communists today were not fucking the Chinese. The communists and the threats to everybody today is all these Western fucking psychopaths, right? And one of the things that they're proposing is that all of the nations need to start instituting World War II type of rationing in order to combat climate change. And they need to start limiting the amount of flights that citizens can take, limiting the amount of petrol that citizens are allowed to buy. Of course, they want to come up with some tracking systems and all this other bullshit to track how much your carbon footprints and all this other crap, right? They want to ration the amount of meat that you're allowed, the amount of clothes that you're allowed, all of this kind of shit. And they actually think this is something that that should be done, or and they have the audacity to think that they can do it, right? And everything from 2020 onwards, right, is moving us towards that, right? Those COVID lockdowns, which is only destructive measures that only destroyed lives and only killed people. Not a single COVID measure taken or a single thing done for COVID saved a single person ever. They just killed a ton of fucking people. And it started the destruction of the food and energy security for everybody in the world, and started the starvation of what now, with Ukraine added on top of it, it's going to be hundreds of millions of casualties, right? And all this bullshit that they're talking about of the World War II rationing of everything and 15-minute cities, they want to enslave you to the point where you're going to live in a spot where everything that you need you can walk to in 15 minutes. And if you're caught fucking leaving your little area, you're gonna you're gonna be in trouble. And of course, they want tracking systems too to make sure that they can put you in your little 15-minute prison cell area and keep control of you, you know. But all of that shit, they think that they can do it. They're trying to do it. But on some level, they got to realize you can't do that to the fucking free populations. The populations that used to be free prior to 2020, that's absolutely no longer free, right? And the rule of laws and all the different documents that support and back up the freedom of the people in those nations, right? They've all been totally torn down and destroyed. Here in the USA, right, the Constitution has been under non-stop attack since 2020. They're attacking the freedom of speech, which is a guaranteed constitutional right, right? Attacking the right to bear arms, attacking the freedom of religion, attacking your own autonomy over your own body, forced human experimentation, war crimes fucking going on. There's civil rights laws that are absolutely being violated left and right by politicians in office, right? And then there's a selective application of the laws that are constantly happening, and you hear them all talk about, oh, misinformation is so dangerous, all this misinformation, disinformation shit. Well, anybody with any sense sees that the people that are talking about that, the media and the governments, they're the fucking ones that have been absolutely lying about everything all of the time. And what they really mean by misinformation and disinformation is anything that goes against the authorized propaganda line of complete bullshit that's being put out by the governments and by the legacy, the big medias, right? So when the war in Ukraine started, right, that was a huge cutoff of the energy supply, right, which is one big part of what they're trying to do here to ration you. They want you to have one piece of chicken a month and to eat beans and rice and bugs, uh, um, fake meat grown in laboratories that causes cancer and all this other fucking bullshit. And they want to do some forced human experimentation on you as far as your diet, what you can, what you have to eat and whatnot, right? But that that was a big energy cutoff to everybody, all of these nations, these wicked fallen nations that are absolutely doing everything against the best interests of their citizens, right? They want to pull the plug on all of the fossil fuel shit, even though when they do that, it doesn't reduce the amount of fossil fuels used whatsoever. It just pushes the fossil fuels over to the east and makes them a lot cheaper for the people in the east to continue to use because the demand in the west is being cut off, being cut up. The markets are being destroyed, right? The free market system here is under complete attack. That's what all this sanctions and bullshit is, right? Human rights, all kinds of rights are absolutely under attack by NATO in the West from COVID on, and in this war here, these sanctions is the attack on the free market, right? But cutting all that energy off, well, that's a big part of their deal. And then, of course, the Nord Stream terrorist attacks, right? That everybody fucking knows who did it and nobody's doing a damn thing about it, right? The UN will take up some type of fake, non-binding fucking vote and tell Russia to immediately and unconditionally leave Ukraine, right? But they'll postpone and do everything that they can to avoid bringing up the Nord Stream fucking terror attacks, which were attacks on the people of Germany and EU and the future of everybody, right? And they were also massive environmental attacks, the biggest methane environmental terrorist attack in history, right? So these same fucking assholes who want to lock you into a 15-minute city and want to World War II ration you so that you're wearing rags for clothes, that you eating meat cultures fucking grown in labs and bugs ground into whatever kind of bullshit they want to feed you in your 15-minute prison cells city, right? And they're so obsessed with stopping you and your very tiny amount of pollution that you create, that they have absolutely no will to try to deal with the motherfuckers that committed the biggest methane terrorist act in fucking history, right? And a lot of that is about that saying that the first casualty of in war is the truth, right? And we see that casualty in terms of Nord Stream big time, right? And we see it in terms of everything coming out of the mouths of the NATO organizations, most of the governments within NATO, and all of the Western press. The fucking truth is deader than a motherfucker. It's nothing but propaganda, fucking bullshit, and lying. But that began before the Ukraine war, because the war against all of the people of the world was launched well before Ukraine. It was the COVID bioweapon, and all measures taken ever since then, right, was and the truth completely died, right, when that war on humanity, all of humanity, began. Absolutely everything said by the governments and the press about it, and any measures or things done to try to combat it, was complete false bullshit propaganda. And the censorship was there to stop anybody from saying a single thing contrary to the official fake news propaganda fucking line of garbage about everything in COVID, right? The first casualty in COVID was the truth, right? And that's how embarrassing and decrepit and sickening this goddamn world is, right? There was a bioweapon that was created over quite a long period and then released intentionally upon the world, and yet here we sit, and they'll say, oh, this intelligence says this and this intelligence says that, right? And we, over time, right, especially the last 20 years, most of the time when they say any intelligence agency says anything, it's usually some kind of fucking lie or propaganda as well, right? But they have nothing to tell you in terms of the source of COVID, the bioweapon, right? And again, they have nothing to tell you about the Nord Stream terror attacks, the economic and environmental terror attacks upon the world, right? But that's a huge part of cutting you off to prepare you for your 15-minute fucking slave city position in your World War II rationing of goods, right? And this here, where they're starting World War III, and we're already into this rationing, right? There's people rationing, right? The people in Moldova right now are paying like 70% of their paycheck just for their energy. Right? Can you imagine that? You bring home $1,000 a week, right? Which you could live fairly decently on in the USA, but all of a sudden you're spending 700 of your $1,000 every week on just your energy, right? The people in Moldova, that's what's going on. That's why they are fucking pissed, right? And their government has been doing absolutely everything against their best interest. And a whole lot of them are saying, fuck this and fuck this Western shit, because the writing's on the wall. We don't want to be no part of this fucking Western shit. We don't want to uh, actually fucking join NATO and the EU, where they actually want to permanently make us live under World War level types of fucking rationing, and they want to track our every move and every fucking thing that we do. They want to deny our rights to travel anywhere or go anywhere, and they want to absolutely rape us on energy to the point where we have no income to do anything else, right? But there's a ton of people now, right, all over the place with this massive inflation that Joe Biden has caused, right? Every single one of these old people that's on Social Security, they're getting raped by the energy in the fucking same ways, right? They're having to decide, well, I'm going to have to cut back on this food. I'm going to have to cut back on any type of services, or some of them are saying I'm going to have to cut back on medications. I can't afford it, right? They're all having to make choices because their working lives are over and their income is fairly fixed. They do a little small inflation increase, fucking for their social security or whatever, but it's absolutely doesn't come anywhere near covering the massive inflation and additional cost that Joe Biden has intentionally forced upon them through absolutely everything that he has done. But those people in Moldova are like getting fucking hammered so hard, right? And they're like, oh, these people that are protesting, and they're protesting every fucking day, and who wouldn't, right? When they're raping you to the point of 70% of all of your income is going for your energy use only because of their power. Why would you want to be part of that? And why would you want to be part in the future of EU or NATO or the West, who wants to lock their citizens into 15-minute cities and World War II rationing and all this other bullshit, when you have deep ties to Russia? And if you became part of Russia, then you'd be guaranteed that you would have cheap energy and you wouldn't be part of the system that wants to lock everybody into 15-minute prison cities and World War II ration, control what they eat, control what they wear, control where they go, control absolutely fucking everything about them, right? And they put out all these fake articles saying, oh, it's not the people of Moldova doing it, is the Russians are causing this, the Russians are causing this, right? And the reality is, the whole situation that Moldova is in and all the sufferings going on, Russia didn't cause any of that. It's Joe Biden again in NATO and Ukraine has caused all of that. And we got all kind of other issues going on where it's becoming fairly likely that NATO and Ukraine are going to try to expand the conflict into Moldova and do the same thing that they did to start and continue the conflict in Ukraine, right? After the 2014 coup, that illegitimate government that was placed in there by Obama and Biden in the West, right? The breakaway regions didn't want anything to do with them. Even before the coup, and Crimea was not a fucking actual part of Ukraine. They were operating autonomously there. Ukraine was split up on purpose basically in 1991 and made into way too large of a nation with way too many different ethnic groups, right, that just don't fully belong together, right? And that's why you've seen so much issues since then with the attempts to de-Russify, especially in the West, right? These are some of the most racist, craziest Nazi. It's like one of the worst hotbeds of Nazi ideology that has ever existed in Western fucking Ukraine, right? Used to be the Polish, right? I mean, and those people are still the absolute craziest, fucking biggest psychopaths in the world, right? The Western Ukrainians, the Polish, the Lithuanian, the Latvians, Estonian. I mean, they're fucking nuts, man. They're absolutely fucking nuts. The craziest motherfuckers of all time. But they they wouldn't respect those breakaway regions. They don't want to be part of that bullshit in Ukraine, especially after the coup in 2014, and especially after all of the de-Russification and Nazi bullshit that was going on in Ukraine. So they kept attacking them, right? In Donbass, in Donetsk, in Lugansk, right? 15,000 people were killed by the Ukrainian government from 2014 to 2022. The war there in that area is not 1 year old, it's fucking 9 years straight. And it would never stop attacking and killing Ukrainian citizens who would not uh, bend to their authority after their coup because they're fucking illegitimate, and every position that they take was attacking their rights and their heritage and everything away from them, right? Trying to de-Russify, stop the Russian language, and really they would like they would have liked to, and they would had to start going of it, basically a fucking genocide of the Russian people in that area. So these same fucking things are going. They're trying to get going on in Moldova, right? But the the writing is on the wall there, right? And no matter what the fake news is fucking saying, most people are fucking pissed off at their government because absolutely everything that they've ever done to them, especially in recent times, has been against their interests, and they're being destroyed by the government of Moldova, the Western-leaning government. They're being destroyed by the Western-leaning government of Ukraine. They're being destroyed by NATO. They're being destroyed by Joe Biden and the USA, and they would be much better off as part of Russia. Just as all of the breakaway regions in Ukraine, much better off being part of Russia, right? The people in Crimea, much better off being part of Russia than being part of Ukraine. That, even when you don't consider the Ukrainian attempted genocide and de-Russification fucking bullshit, just all of the other bullshit, right? Everybody over there that wants to be part of Russia has very, very good reasons for it, right? And people here in the West should also start really thinking about how much better off it would be in Russia. Russia's a big land. There's a lot of room there. And I don't see them coming out with policies of trying to lock everybody into 15-minute cities and to put World War II rationing on them and all the crazy shit that I see coming out of the West, right? And I don't see them doing absolutely everything against the best interests of their citizens at every turn, just like the West is doing, right? And I don't see the same completely bullshit attempt to go to fake green energy, which is just destroying the lives of all the people everywhere they're doing it, right? Every nation that's pushing big time solar and wind is destroying the lives of the people, right? And the shit is filthy as hell. And it's not reliable. It's fucking dangerous, right? These big ass fucking windmills, the amount of mining and damage to the lands and everything just to construct these things, and then they're putting them on top of farmland and putting them in the worst fucking places there is, and they fucking break down and they failing all the time. I'm reading articles about it, and they're like, oh yeah, well, the race to go bigger has created some manufacturing problems, and every fucking company there is that manufactures, they're just fucking falling over, starting on fire. It's just a fucking complete joke, right? These windmills. But the solar's doing the same thing, and the solar, we don't have enough materials to mine and do it to even. This shit is not even an option. Right, the amount of mining and stuff required to start using, it's like 20, 30 times fucking more materials in mining and pollution and all the other shit and damages caused to that just to create these fucking solar panels, right? But these solar panels that are on rooftops everywhere, they're malfunctioning, burning down fucking state of the art factories and buildings and shit everywhere. The solar is not safe whatsoever. The wind is not safe whatsoever. It's not clean whatsoever. It's not fucking reliable whatsoever. Every grid that's getting wind and solar attached to it is degrading. That's why we're having all of these problems, right? Uh, One time the USA grid, which I worked 15 years so in power line inspecting to keep the reliability of the grid up. But at one time, it was one of the wonders of the world. Now it's considered antiquated only because of the wind and solar intermittent garbage fucking electricity that it wasn't designed to handle, right? And that type of energy is not designed to feed large populations. It's intermittent, right? You need big load stuff on the grids, right? But our grid reliability degrades more and more and more the more that it gets on. And the same thing with everybody else, right? Look at all the issues the UK is having with energy and all of these other people, right? But that's also part of their fucking lockdown, World War II rationing, how much energy you can get, where you can go, and whatever, right? Their ideas on everything is they have no ideas that are actually solutions to anything. The only thing they do is create a ton more problems, right? But Russia is not rushing to that, right? They call it the big gas station of the world. Well, they got a ton of energy, and the people in Russia there are always going to have access to cheap energy, and they've got great infrastructure, right? Everybody in that area would be better off. And they're like, oh, well, maybe they're going to take over Belarus. Well, if the people of Belarus decided that they wanted to fully join Russia, right, it would be a good decision by the people of Belarus, just as it's a good decision for all of the people in what used to be Ukraine now that want to be part of Russia, that it is all part of Russia, those four oblasts and Crimea. It's not fucking Ukraine. And the same with the people in Moldova, right? You'd be a goddamn retard to choose to want to live in the West, in NATO, and in that type of shit. But here we're seeing now an escalation to get even worse at the cutoff, right? All this shit going down with China and everything. And then as soon as they get China, whether they actually did it or not, or China says fuck you, we'll do whatever the fuck we want, right? Which is what they should say. We're gonna do what's in the best interest of China, not fucking listen to you. Fuck you. Who the fuck are you assholes to tell us what to fucking do, right? The USA especially, but the West overall thinks they're some kind of goddamn the authority that can tell everybody else what to do, but now they got pieces coming out like crazy. Oh, they're supplying weapons to Russia. How dare they? And they're going to continue the war because they're supplying weapons to Russia, right? They're not allowed to do the same stuff that we do, right? And it's the Western supply of war weapons and intelligence and other assistance, right? Constant welfare to Ukraine that keeps the war going, right? Keeps killing more people in Ukraine, keeps killing more people all over the world, keeps destroying energy supplies, keeps destroying food supplies, because that's what they want, right? But now with the China shit, right? How are they gonna knock out your ability to buy all the products that you want, right? They're going to knock out your ability to buy shit coming in from China, which has been supplying all of Europe and America and Canada, with a ton of the consumer goods. All of the industry was moved over there, right? So now it's escalating to the point here where through this war in Ukraine, following the real war that was launched with COVID, right? Now they're cutting off the the cheap and reliable energy. There's only one source of cheap and reliable energy in Europe. That was Russia. They cut you off from that, right? And they cut off the free market to allow other people who have access to the not free market to have monopolies and way overcharge you for all kind of other shit. Meanwhile, that energy that they cut you off from Russia is being bought at discounts by India and China and all this other shit. And then you're still fucking buying shit from Russia because there are tons of countries, including Saudi Arabia, that's buying up Russian oil, mixing it in a little bit with their oil and selling it right to you anyways. And they're making the profits, right? So they're cutting you off, raising your energy prices, lowering your the supply of energy available for your demand to interact with, and they're giving all of the discounts to everybody else, and they're giving them the ability to turn around and use that cheap Russian reliable energy to make profits for their citizens. So, right, all of the EU nations are suffering right now massively from the energy sanctions against Russia, but the people in China are benefiting. People in Saudi Arabia is benefiting. People in India is benefiting. Everybody doing business with Russia is benefiting, right? And everybody who's shunning business with Russia is suffering. So, but the next part of the thing is when they finish alienating China, right? It's, there it goes. There's all the products. So here's this setup, right? World War II rationing. They're going to control the amount of fuel that you can use. They're going to control the amount of traveling you can do, the amount of clothes you can buy, the amount of food you can buy, the amount of meat you can consume, all of this other bullshit. And they're going to try to use their technology like they've been using to wage war upon you, everybody in the world, right? Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, all of the big platforms, YouTube here, all of this bullshit, right? They're that's what they're going to have your carbon tracking, give you a citizen scores. They're going to try to take away cash money so they can digitally monitor absolutely everything that you can do and come and put the bust on your ass because you had 5 hot dogs this month instead of the fucking 3 that you're allowed, or whatever the fuck kind of crazy bullshit that they're going on. But this whole thing, man, that's what it's setting up for. Right now, this war in Ukraine is the start of pushing you into your 15-minute prison city to live in, to push you into your forced World War II rationing, right? And of course, all the military conflict and everything that they got going on is causing more pollution than fucking absolutely anything else, right? And their terrorist attacks like on Nord Stream and all this other bullshit, right? They're so concerned about you and your pollution, they're going to destroy your lives, destroy the free markets, destroy everything going on in the world, cut you fucking off of literally everything, including your ability to have the speech to fucking stand up and for yourselves and say that what the fuck is going wrong is wrong, is unlawful, right? This is all about control. Right, and 1 year into this Ukraine war, it looks like everything is getting worse and worse and worse. Right, we started to see it in COVID times, and then we're the Ukraine times, right? We're seeing these shortages of just absolutely everything everywhere. Well, as soon as they fucking put the kibosh on trading with China and they do their sanctions, and they'll probably try to freeze and steal all Chinese assets in the West, just like they did to Russian assets, which again destroys the free markets, and nobody there's there's no belief left in anybody with any intelligence in the world in any of the systems. Right? Their systems, the rule of law on everything, domestically and internationally, just gone to fuck complete shit. Right? They're destroying all foreign investment. Right? What we have known as foreign investment is not gonna be able to continue, because who is going to want to invest in anything when none of the investments are guaranteed by any type of rule of law? That as soon as the USA and NATO and the West gets mad at you, that's it. Your investment, everything that you've done there is gone, and we're just stealing your shit. Right? If you piss us off, we steal your shit. That's the way it works. Right? It's just a complete collapse of everything is what they're putting together right now. And at the 1 year point here with this shit that's going down with China, right? Which we would never be in this position of the world relying on China for so many products if the very same people that are behind the COVID bioweapon and behind the Ukraine war didn't fucking set up this whole situation with China to begin with. Right? China didn't rise on their own. All these Western cats here that are looking to steal these assets and do all this other bullshit and lock down all the Western citizens, while they made a shit ton of money by building up China the way that they did. And they're going to make a shit ton of money when they steal all of the Chinese assets over in the Western nations as well. Right? It's just a fucking complete racket. Right? Everything they got going is a complete racket, but it's all against the best interests of the citizens. And here at the 1 year point, it's looking worse than ever. Right? Everything that they need to really create the environment to force this shit that they want upon you. Right? The Ukraine war is facilitating that. Right? So that's the reality here. And I know I've talked for a long ways here, but if you made it this far, here's the moral of the story. If you are supporting the war in Ukraine, what you are supporting is the rapid push towards you living with permanent World War II, World War type of rationing of absolutely everything that you do and consume, right? And if you support the war in Ukraine, you are supporting you being pushed rapidly into living in a 15-minute environment where you're not going to be able to travel and go where you want, and you're going to be tracked, and you're going to be disciplined if you go outside of your approved zone, and you're going to be disciplined if you eat an extra hot dog that month, or any of this other shit. You're going to be destitute, and you're going to pay out your ass for all of your energy, and all of the products available to you are going to be strictly limited, so that you're wearing fucking rags and eating bugs and all of that other bullshit. Because that's what this Ukraine war is doing. They're setting up a situation that the reliable, cheap energy that improves the lives of everybody in the EU, well, they're setting it up so that it'll never be able to get turned back on. Right? That's the deal. That's what Nord Stream was, and what Ukraine is all about. They're cutting you off of cheap and reliable energy. And now that they've pushed Russia at China, and they've pushed China into the same type of corner, right? Even they come out and they say, oh, we're going to send some extra troops onto fucking Taiwan, which is one of the strangest fucking deals that there is, because they say there's one China policy. I'm not personally big onto that deal because, to me, Taiwan has never been ruled by the ruling government in China. Never. The ruling government in China never once has had control over, so they really shouldn't have a claim to Taiwan. It should all be up to the people in Taiwan and nobody else. Not what China wants, not what USA wants or anybody else. To me, it's the same thing as Crimea. Right? The ruling government in Kiev has never, ever, ever had any control over Crimea. It's never been part of Ukraine during the reign of this really illegitimate government from 2014 on, and the election of Zelensky. That is a goddamn farce. Everything's a farce. There is no legitimate regime in Kiev. But to me, Crimea and Taiwan is the same fucking deal. They have Taiwan's been completely autonomous the entire time from the current government in Beijing, and Crimea has been entirely autonomous from the entire history of the current government in Kiev. They have never ruled those areas, and they shouldn't. Nobody should be backing them to rule those areas. But at the same time, right, it's a different story in terms of Crimea is able to join Russia. It's historically been Russia for a long time, and right, they're able to to join a strong country that can protect them, whereas Taiwan really couldn't stand up for itself. And if they were to, what are the options for them to join another country, right? We can make them the 51st state of the USA, right? They don't really fit in there or anywhere else, right? So then that's the difference to me about the whole deal, right? There is no real claim from Kiev over Crimea, and there is no real claim from China over Taiwan, even though, right, a bunch of the same assholes, they double talk it, and they have conceded the point to China, right? One of the big problems why we have this big issue is that they've been sucking China's ass on it, being all two-faced and saying, yes, Taiwan is legitimately part of China. Yes, you have legitimate claim. Well, they should have always been saying, no, you have no fucking claims to Taiwan. But of course, they double talk, just like they do to us. They're two-faced with everybody else that they deal with everywhere in the world, right? But the reality is Taiwan really couldn't defend itself and doesn't have an option to join a strong country that could defend it, right? And in reality, if it comes down to having to fight over it, the best interest of the people in Taiwan would be to join China, right? Join China. And when the West and the fake democracy, right? Because there is no real fucking democracy going on. All the Western places are being ran by dictators. New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK. I mean, the worst communist dictator fucking type of shit going on is all from them. So really, the writing's on the wall as far as Taiwan goes as well. Do you want to be locked down and rationed and part of the West and completely sabotaged by your leaders at all times? Or would you rather be part of a big, strong nation like China that wants to produce a lot of goods and grow and use a lot of energy and doesn't want to fucking destroy your lives to the same level that everybody in the all the leadership in the West are destroying the lives of the people under them, right? The game is changed, right? Just like it makes absolutely no sense for Moldova or the breakaway regions of what used to be Ukraine to have any want to be part of the completely corrupted and self-destructive Western system. The people of Taiwan should fucking have enough sense to not want to be a fucking part of it either, right? And they'd be annihilated in any type of war, and their best fucking interest is just to fucking join China because they don't have, that's their option. Crimea had the option to join Russia to save themselves from the West. Taiwan doesn't have the same option except for to join China, which would be the same thing, would save them from the West, save Taiwan from being completely destroyed like Ukraine is, and save the people of Taiwan from being eradicated and used as human sacrificial pawns, just like the way the people in Ukraine are as well. But all of this shit is all fucking tied together here, right? It's not it's not the Russians or the Chinese that want to fucking force you into World War II rationing. It's the Western crazy nations. It's not China or Russia who wants to force you into 15-minute slave cities with no ability to have cheap and reliable energy and no ability to have cheap and reliable goods, right? Because they want to do the opposite. Russia wants to provide the people of Europe and the people of the world cheap and reliable energy. It's the West that's shutting it off. China wants to provide the people of the world and the people of Europe and with cheap and reliable goods, because that's what they've been doing, right? For decades. The cheap and reliable energy, fuel and everything, all the prosperity in the West is coming from Russia. For decades, the cheap and reliable products that building the wealth and all of the wealth coming from China, right? And it benefits them also, right? It's mutually beneficial relationships. They're all being fucking cut off right now, right? So it's your government who's trying to ration you permanently. They're the ones trying to lock you down. They're the ones cutting off of your energy. They're the ones destroying the free market system. They're the ones destroying the environment for all future foreign investment. They're the ones destroying your ability to have the cheap energy and the cheap products that you want. Right? There's nobody out there that wants what they want for you. What they want for you is you to have nothing, only what they say you can have, you not to be able to speak, only to be able to say what they want you to say, you not be able to have freedom of movement, you only go where they want you to go, right? It's basically the entire Western civilization is trying to create mass slavery of the entire Western population. And all Western citizens right now are under all out attack by the Western governments, right? This whole fucking thing is the biggest fucking joke in the world. When that fake news and these bullshitter fucking fallen governments are out there saying, oh yeah, fucking the threat to your life and your future is Russia, they're full of shit. It is them. They're the threat to your lives and a threat to your future. When they're saying the threat to your lives and your future is fucking China, bullshit. It is them. And China and Russia's not coming after you. Your own damn government is coming after you. And here at the 1 year anniversary mark of this war in Ukraine, it's just got worse and worse and worse and much more clear. They're coming after you. That's the threat. And everything that they're fucking doing is bullshit. So hopefully a lot more people in the world will wise up to it, because it is not Russia and China that needs to be stopped. It is the governments of the West, the fallen institutions of NATO and the United Nations. That's who needs to be stopped. So anyways, with that said, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you think that's something you should do. And have a nice day.